Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna start a new little series as Avengers Doomsday is coming up, releasing in December later this year. I want to be looking at the other MCU movies, the Fox Universe movies like the X-Men and Deadpool Wolverine, the Raimi Spider-Man movies, the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And today I'm gonna be starting a series of looking at those movies and reviewing them for this channel. And today, starting off with our first review, is going to be Iron Man for 2008. I thought this movie will be a nice introduction, considering this is really the start of the MCU. And yeah, basically I just watched the movie. I'm gonna review it, talk about some good points, bad points, what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. Starting off about Iron Man, I want to say it's a really good movie. The best thing about this movie, in my opinion, is it doesn't really feel like an MCU movie. If you want to watch it just as a normal superhero movie, no ties related, it's a perfectly fine movie to do so. You don't have any of the ties in with other heroes or just other universes like they do later on in the MCU. They don't have any callbacks really. The only really connections to the Avengers or whatever is in the post-credit scene with Nick Fury confronting Tony Stark about the Avengers Protocol, and a little bit about the SHIELD stuff with Coulson in the movie. But a part of that is really just a standalone movie, and it also feels like that. It doesn't really feel like a typical MCU movie. It's also kind of a little darker, which is something I really enjoy. For example, with the terrorist parts, in certain moments, it just doesn't really feel like a Marvel movie. It doesn't really feel like a superhero movie. It's just a little dark with the terrorists terrorizing the village, torturing Iron Man, Tony, and Jensen. In this part, I really enjoyed it. It really sets apart the world a little bit more instead of just being centered as Iron Man. It's just, yeah, it really makes it more a more living world, in my opinion. Now, the movie started off really good, in my opinion, with the little transport scene, let's call it like that, with the army and Iron Man, Tony Stark. The movie did something really good, in my opinion. They started off with some light humor to showcase what is to come in the rest of the movie, and basically showcase the MCU formula, which they really did a good job, in my opinion. But then all of a sudden, it's just a sudden change into action, which is something I really enjoyed. And then obviously we have the little flashback showcasing some of Tony Stark's upbringing, showcasing some of the character, which I also kind of enjoyed. Really just showing that he's just a drunk. He likes to party, he likes to gamble, he likes to seduce women. It really showcased the starting point of Tony Stark's career and life, and then moving on along to the rest of the movie, and obviously later on the rest of the MCU, which is something I really liked. Then after that, we move on from the flashback to the current day again, in which Tony Stark is in the cave. And in my opinion, the movie introduces one of the best characters during this, in Jensen. I'm not really sure who the actor is. I'm not sure who the actor is, but in my opinion, it was a great character. He wasn't in the movie that long, maybe 4 or 5 minutes screen time max, but the little time he was in the movie and the impact he had on Tony Stark's life, in my opinion, was a very well-written character. And the actor did a great job in displaying it. In the short moments they met, Tony was able to see, not only because of Jensen, by the way, but Tony was able to see what his weapons were doing, because he was now being affected himself. So he decided to change, and because of Jensen, because he saved his life, Tony really decided to make the change. Together they made the Iron Man suit Mark 1, and from there on out, well, basically from there on out, without Jensen, there wouldn't be an Iron Man, there wouldn't be a Tony Stark anymore, because he would have died in the cave. So yeah, Jensen, one of the best parts in the movie, in my opinion. From there on out, we have the Iron Man escape scene from the cave in a really fun, enjoyable sequence, in my opinion. One thing I really also liked about that sequence in building the suit is showcasing that Tony is smart. He can be serious in situations where he needs to be, which is a moment in the movie I really enjoyed. And then obviously the escape scene with action, him taking out the 10 Rings goons, let's say, was really enjoyable, in my opinion. Then him escaping, and then being found by Rhodey, And then moving on to the first press conference in which he stops the weapon manufacturing. This moment, just moments in general, is really fun in my opinion. It sets up the rest of the story really well. It sets up who Iron Man is supposed to be. And yeah, the movie did a great job in doing that. From here on out, we start to realize that Obadiah Stane, played by Jeff Bridges, who did a great job in my opinion, was going to be the main villain in this movie. It slowly unraveled with him revealing that he kicked out Tony off the board. Then later on revealing that he ordered the hit on Tony, and then him making the Ironmonger suit. All that was an okay, fun little reveal, and it's because of Tony really stopping the weapon manufacturing that it was going to be revealed. Then next up we have Tony deciding to start making the Mark II suit in some fun little montage in my opinion. Him learning to fly, him having his first flight, him during the first flight encountering the icing problem, which he later on solved basically, was really enjoyable in my opinion. And then of course, as more things started to unravel, we got the Mark III suit. And yeah, that little sequence in I'm not gonna try to say the name of the place because I don't really remember, but that sequence of the first time we really see Iron Man in action in the proper suit was just great in my opinion. It really showcased what the suit can do, how it improved from the Mark I suit, how Tony improved the suit in general. It was just great in my opinion. Really showcased who Iron Man is going to be and who he was at that point in the movie. From there on out, we continue with Obadiah Stane continue to be feeling as the villain, and we are going to be building towards the final battle in the movie. And that's one part of the movie that I don't really like. Up until, well, let's say Pepper finds out what Obadiah's intentions are. Up until that point, the movie is pretty just grounded, very good in my opinion. And then moving on, up until that moment of Pepper realizing what Obadiah is going to do, what he did, it kind of feels like they remembered, hey, this is a superhero movie, we need the final battle. So the final battle kind of feels forced in my opinion. And it's also the worst part, the weakest part, in my opinion, of the movie. Because, well, it isn't terrible, it also isn't very good, it isn't very memorable. And when people are talking about Iron Man, the movie, they don't really remember the final battle. They don't really remember the villain Obadiah Stane. And even though I think Jeff Bridges did a fantastic job playing the role, especially in this one scene in which he confronts the technician worker while working on the suit, in one of the most iconic lines in the movie, from Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of metal or scraps. I don't really remember how it went, but that was just something I really enjoyed from Jeff Bridges. And well, now also kind of talking about the final battle and just Obadiah Stane in general. Well, they were both solid in my opinion. They were forgettable. Not bad, but just forgettable, which is one of the issues in this movie. In general, a lot of good things are happening, and then you move on to the more forgettable stuff. Because, like I said, if you think about Iron Man, I don't really think you are going to be remembering Obadiah Stane as the villain, what he did as the villain, or the final battle. Now moving on, we had the final battle. Obadiah is defeated. Then we move on to perhaps the biggest moment in this movie, and that is the final press conference in which Tony Stark reveals that he's Iron Man. In a great moment in my opinion. One thing I really enjoy about this moment, it wasn't really the norm for superheroes to reveal themselves. So for them to really just immediately straight out in the first movie say, hey, Tony Stark is Iron Man, was a great decision. It really also was a really fun decision, because from there on out you can build both characters as the same person, which you needed to be. You can have them both as a public figure, and that was one of the best parts about Tony Stark in general. He was Iron Man, people knew he was Iron Man, he acted as Iron Man, and Iron Man acted as Tony Stark. That was fantastic in my opinion, just a really good decision. Now, one thing I have to really talk about is Terrence Howard as Rhodey. in my opinion, he was a kind of a, perhaps I'm saying this in retrospect, but a weird inclusion in the movie. Well, I thought he was fine as Rhodey. Obviously, he moved on from the role, and we got Don Cheadle. So, rewatching Iron Man in 2026 and seeing Terrence Howard there, well, he is not bad. It just feels a little, perhaps a little weird because he is not going back. He is a different character. Obviously, he's the same character, but he feels different. He acts different. He sounds different. He looks different. It wasn't bad, but it's just a little weird feeling I have while watching Iron Man. So, well, I did enjoy Rhodey. He was just. I did and also enjoy the performance. In the end of the day, he was just okay, in my opinion. Now, another great part about this movie, in my opinion, was Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper. In this first movie, they really did a good job in building upon the relationship or just the friendship between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, and something I really enjoyed. Starting off as, well, boss and co-worker, but while currently hinting at something more and something that could become later on, which was really fun in my opinion. She did a good job in acting out Pepper. And yeah, overall, I just really enjoyed Pepper, the character in this movie. But without a doubt, the best part about Iron Man, not just this movie, but the character in general, is Robert Downey Jr. The way that he was able to portray Tony Stark and Iron Man was just fantastic. I don't really see another actor portraying Iron Man and Tony Stark, because what Robert Downey Jr. did with the role is something I don't think anyone will be able to replicate. And that's not only because of the way he played him, but also because of the backstory, the upbringing of Robert, the things he did in the past before he got the role, all came together to really portray a great Iron Man. All those things, the acting, the past, just the way he mannerized the character, all brought together this one perfect acting performance in my opinion. And without a doubt, Robert Downey Jr. is not only the best part about Iron Man 2028, the movie is one of the best parts of the entire MCU. Now, overall, my final thoughts about this movie is it's a fantastic movie. It's a perfect start to the franchise. It's a great start to Iron Man, and even though he started off as a B-list character in the comics, the way this movie and the later on movies was able to turn Iron Man into the character he is today is very impressive in my opinion. And the fact that they were able to build off the Marvel universe from that B-list character is also very impressive in my opinion. So overall, a great movie with some flaws, but still such a great start to the movie, to the MCU, and one of my favorite MCU movies in general. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I'm not really sure what movie I'm going to review next. I'm not really sure of the pattern I'm going to do. Perhaps I'll do it in release order. Perhaps I'll pick out the trilogies. So perhaps next up is Incredible Hulk. Perhaps next up is Iron Man 2. Or maybe I'll just go another route in general and pick up Captain America, the first Avenger next up. But I'm not sure. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.